All right. Tottenham Hotspur will win a trophy before Harry Kane.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Planet Soccer channel here on YouTube. Today we are talking buy or sell Matchweek 7. Very uneventful week. Nothing to talk about. Nothing happened. Just your typical Premier League. Really
Sleepy Saturday.
Carnival. Yeah, sleepy Saturday with a little bit of carnival mixed in. This is buy or sell. It's our second week doing this. Dylan and I are going to pose topics in the form of a statement, ask the other person to buy or sell that opinion, or hot take. I think a lot of I don't know if many of these are hot takes. Some of them are question marks for me from Dylan. He's leaving some of them mysterious for me. So you were going to get my raw reaction on some of them. We have coordinated on some of them to talk about. So Dylan, match week 7, do you have anything you want to say about it before we get going on these buy or sells? We actually don't talk about VAR at all, I don't think, in this, unless you have
we don't in this, because normally I try and shy away from it, obviously, unless it hurts Newcastle, because
everybody's already talked about it anyways.
We're a little biased on our own club. So reason I don't want to talk about it is because Liverpool got screwed. Reason you don't want to talk about it is because Tottenham got kind of helped out. So
and because Liverpool
I don't have a whole lot to say. I don't have a whole lot to say other than it'll be a shame if Liverpool getting screwed is what changes things. Yeah. But at the end of the day, things need to have a little bit of an adjustment.
Sure.
Like watching today's match, the commentators even said they were getting an audio feed explaining the VAR decision to an extent and not just decision complete or check complete. They were getting a decision one way or another. My end goal, my end hope is to have that broadcasted throughout either the stadium or over the television broadcast. So other than that, don't have a whole lot to say on VAR. We've talked about rules at nauseum. Check out that individual episode if you are interested, because Tottenham did get screwed last year. Newcastle did get screwed last year, but we'll save that for another time, or save that for you checking out our last vid.
Yeah,
so I'll hit me with what you got here on your first buy or sell, unless you got any VAR thoughts.
No, I don't. I mean, people have talked about it endlessly, on the YouTube. So go check out other videos. Before we get started, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, like the video. I'm not going to tell you to turn on alerts because I'm sure you get enough notifications on your phone, but subscription would really help.
Throw a comment though.
Yeah, throw a comment out. Let us know your opinion.
Help with the algorithm a little bit there.
Right. Yeah. First off, Dylan, I want to start with today's game. Chelsea got the win. They scored more than one goal. Buy or sell, Broha fixes Chelsea, and or Mudryk, his first goal in a Chelsea uniform, finally gets him going. Chelsea starts scoring goals.
So I'm going to buy that Chelsea starts scoring goals.
Okay.
If it is just Broha being the fix, I would sell.
Yeah.
But I'm going to buy. Chelsea is going to start scoring goals for good reason. We talked about it in our either the last EPL or the one before that. Their XG, while XG cannot be a perfect solution, as I think we'll actually dive into later.
Yeah.
XG isn't always a telltale sign, but over the course of numerous games, XG can be a little bit of a telltale sign on trends, and their XG was far outperforming their actual goals. Today, they get a really nice finish from Mudryk. A very unfortunate bounce, to put it nicely, from Tim Ream, falling into Broja's lap, and he also finished it off quite well. His first game in 11 months, I think. I don't think he has played since October, early
UCL,
November of
UCL
of
when he tore his
22.
UCL. It was early last year, around this time last year.
Yeah. So it's been about 11, 12 months since he's even played. It's been 12 or 13 months since he scored. Mudryk, well documented, hasn't scored yet for Chelsea until today. But after his goal, it wasn't just the goal for me that kind of further sells me on Chelsea's goals coming. It was his play after the goal. It did seem to spark a little bit of confidence in him, as it does many attacking players.
Yeah.
So I do kind of expect him to be a part of a little bit of revitalization for that Chelsea attack. I'm not ready to go out on a limb and say they're going to score enough to compete for Champions League, but I am ready to say that the goals are going to start coming a little bit quicker for them as we start to move on, as they kind of get some guys back and get some guys rolling.
I'm going to sell this, but have one of my analysts monitor the stock on it, because I don't think either of these goals. Levi Colwell's pass to Mudryk was fantastic, but you kind of have to wonder what Diop was doing there. He kind of got lost in his own feet. Excuse me, I'm 4 beers deep. But there were no like true run of play goals where there was a build up into the box, and they really just had clinical build-ups where the finish was sublime. I mean, Broha really did get a pass it was a touch from Ream kind of into his lap. And then Mudryk was a great finish. I mean, that's a goal he doesn't score the first, 10 months, 6 months, 8 months of his Chelsea career. So I'm going to sell, but monitor that stock. Moving on, Dylan, this is your buy or sell, so I'm going to let you pose it to me.
Buy or sell that Matt Turner will be the starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team in 2026. Where do you stand on Matt Turner?
I'm going to buy it for a couple of reasons. First reason is, who else? I don't know if Gaga Slonina will be ready. I don't know if is he. I don't even know how he's doing, honestly. Is he?
It's not good.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it's not. I think part of it is part of the team he's on in the Belgian league, but no clean sheets, averaging 2.5 goals a game against.
Yeah, it's not great.
Not ideal. 58% save percentage. So we'll get into that in our USMNT recap. But yeah, not as promising from Gaga as we had kind of hoped.
You've also got Ethan Horvath, who I believe is he Matt Turner's backup still? Is he still at Forest? Third string. Okay.
He's got to get out.
Yeah, it kind of goes to my point. I mean, yes, Matt Turner, 1, because who else? 2, because I don't really look ever at U.S. goalkeepers as having to perform in their league. It seems like they just always come into the USMNT and overperform or perform well, at least. I mean, Tim Howard was never just a world beater at Everton or wherever he was, but he always came to the USMNT and performed. So I'm going to buy that he's our keeper in 2026, and I think that'll be a good thing. I think he'll be good.
My biggest reason for posing the question was just how poor he's looked with the ball at his feet as of late, and I think that's something that the U.S. will really need if we want to pose a real threat to make a semifinal run. But yeah, no, my answer would also be buy here, but more of the effect of who the heck else, because Gaga's not really instilling a lot of confidence in me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of the advanced goalkeeping, he launches a lot of passes downfield. He doesn't really play the ball out from the back at Forest, and Berhalter isn't really a play the ball out of the back guy anyways. So I think
with the roster he should be, but you're right.
Yeah.
We don't have any world beaters on the wing, speed wise, pace wise, but based off of Berhalter's tactics, I would tend to agree that he might fit a Berhalter system better than most.
On the bright side, he is ranked in the 94th percentile in launched passes completed, so I guess that's good. At least his long passes are finding people,
and he is a really good shot stopper too. I'm not trying to take anything away from him by posing this question. It was more, especially this last week, there were a lot of concerns with the ball at his feet, and that's something we've seen a lot of.
Yeah, should have had a penalty call against him, but didn't.
Twitter pundits love to rip on him for that. So just wanted to make sure we were still in Turner we trust until proven otherwise.
Until proven otherwise, I'd say so. Dylan, you've got another buy or sell from the Wolves City game, I believe.
Yep. So buy or sell, Wolves versus City on Saturday morning told us more about Manchester City than it did about Wolves.
So here's my feeling on this one. I'm going to sell it because I don't think it told us anything about either of the teams. I think that we knew that this could happen to City. I only say that because I've seen Tottenham beat City the exact way Wolves played on Saturday. Tottenham has 2 wins versus City in the last 2 years. They had a 1-0 win versus City in Matchweek 1 2 years ago. Yeah, it was after the Kane saga with Man City. And they literally beat Wolves on like the exact same situation, exact same play. So this is how you beat City. You sit low. I mean, we look at the passing network of City and Wolves, and and Wolves really didn't get out of their final third very much, and City was well into the final 2/3 of the pitch the entire game. So I think an organized defense, which we know Wolves has, and that's kind of the style they play. If they're going to beat you, they're going to beat you on a counter, and they're just going to have to catch you out. And I think when we look at City's passing network, you really only see Ederson as back there on their side of the pitch. Everybody else is well past the halfway line. So I actually didn't see the goal. I probably should have looked at it before we went and recorded this episode, but I will buy that we learned more about City than Wolves, but I'm going to sell that we really learned anything about anybody in this game.
So I would argue, it's tough for me because from our preseason, I was kind of big on Wolves, but for me, it does kind of tell me a lot about City. Not that I think he's fully snake bitten, as I've talked about in the past.
He being Holland,
yeah, but Holland didn't look great. They had a combined 0.04 XG per shot out of 20 some odd shots, which isn't great. Again, XG isn't the end all be all, but you see shot numbers and you go, wow, they really dominated, but they weren't really creating high quality opportunities. Holland only had 15 touches. I think the biggest thing it tells me is City is in trouble without Rodri.
And De Bruyne.
They've lost game.
I would say.
I think. Yes, De Bruyne is a missing link. They could probably last without one, but not the other. But with De Bruyne being out so long, this Rodri thing really would worry me if I'm a City fan. When you look at they lost to Brentford last year without him. They lost to you guys last year or 2 years ago without him. They lost to Southampton and Leeds without him in the past. So he is kind of we've all talked about the Gundogan transfer. We've talked about the KDB injury, but I think that Rodri suspension really shines a light on how much they would suffer without both of them.
What's his time? Is it 3 games?
Yeah, for Rodri, yeah. So it's a huge advantage for Arsenal into the weekend. Yeah. De Bruyne is out for multiple months, it sounds like. So it could make things real interesting. Not necessarily City as a whole, but City in this instance without KDB and without Rodri, it did tell me quite a bit about that, I think. So I do think it'll be interesting next 2 matches for Man City for sure, and then possibly even longer if anything happens to him injury-wise or anything like that.
Yeah. No, City is definitely not the same team without a couple pieces. They can bring in Julian Alvarez, and if Holland's not in, score some goals. But there are certain stalwarts in that squad that they need at least one of 2 of them. And Rodri and De Bruyne are case A and 1A, I think, for both of us. Dylan, buy or sell? Your second place prediction for Villa is back on. I don't know if that's.
So I feel like I gotta buy.
You posed this one to me, but that's the way I'm posing it to you.
So I gotta buy. When I initially thought of Villa as a topic, it was they're the best non-Big Six, which also from a Newcastle fan would be a hot take, and I would buy that. So what the hell? I'll buy that their push for second is still on. I think the push for second is, and even first right now possibly, is going to be an absolute crapshoot between 5 or 6 teams. Liverpool has looked fantastic until the weekend against you guys. You guys have looked fantastic. But for me, outside of the big, really, I'm going to call them the big 4 right now, because Chelsea and Man United flat out do not deserve to be referenced to in this singular season as a Big Six side, because they're right in this vacuum of the 2023-2024 season. So outside the big 4, I do think Villa is kind of the best of the rest, not only because of their performance against Brighton, but I think they have the better manager. I think De Zerbi is a bit one-sided, very forward-pressing, very attacking-minded. I think Unai can get a little bit more creative with his tactics. I don't necessarily think that's a hot take, but I do think that kind of puts them above Brighton for me. Brighton's a little bit more fun and exciting to watch. But when it comes down to it head-to-head or against fellow top-of-the-table competitors, I think Villa will fare a little bit better. I think they also have, I hate saying this, it hurts me in my soul, I think they have the best striker not named Harry Kane from England. Pains me.
That's playing. So sorry, that's Callum. Playing right now, right? Not including Ivan Toney, because he's also English.
right now, over the last like 10 months, 12 months, I would take Ali over him personally. I love Ivan Toney. I think I know for a fact his stats are incredibly inflated by penalties. He's an absolutely world beater from the spot, but I think it is highly inflated. I think I would rather Ali than I would Toney or Callum, and that pains me to say, as one is a former Newcastle guy and one is currently with Newcastle. The other nice thing about Villa, as far as this push to be the best of the rest outside the big four, or that push for second, like you phrased, is they can kind of just bow out of or blow off the Conference League if they want.
Which they did to the Carabao Cup pretty noticeably. They said,
right.
Fuck it to the Carabao Cup.
I kind of get, especially with that fifth spot likely being there for Champions League, I kind of get that vibe from them. It's a lot harder to intentionally bow out of Europa League for Brighton than it is the Conference League for Villa. So I put that as a factor as well. But I fully 100% buy that they're the best of the next four, or best outside of the big four for the rest of the season. And as a what the heck, I'll go ahead and buy them as still being in the hunt to finish second. I'm not sold on them finishing second, but I'll buy that they're back in the hunt to finish second.
Yeah, Villa's a little bit of a conundrum to me. I think they beat a 10-man Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. They lost to Liverpool 3-0 at Anfield. They lost to y'all 5-1 at St. James Park. So they've gotten 3 pretty big away matches out of their path already, with 1 win coming at Chelsea. They played Chelsea at the right time for sure. Obviously, they have several tough away games left. I'm going to judge them more on how they play against the Arsenals, the Tottenham, the cities of the world, not because like they're at the top of the table, but because their style of play. Brighton is very beatable if you're at home and if you play the right way against them, which I texted you before that match and said that Villa matches up really well versus Brighton. And
I know when we put out our picks, I thought that was one I'd for sure make up on you. I was all in on Villa. I placed my bet early in the week on Villa, and I saw you had Villa too. I was like, damn, I really thought I was making up a little more ground on you there, but the writing kind of was on the wall there. Villa's great at Villa Park. Brighton doesn't travel as well.
Yeah. A lot of Villa's games have also been.
I think there's just more question marks for Brighton.
Yeah, a lot of Villa's games have also been so lopsided one way or the other. I want to see them play some close, gritty games. Can Ollie Watkins score that 84th minute winner that they need? So the jury's still out, but Villa looks very good, and they look tough to beat, especially at home. So
I do love that little menage a trois, if you will, of Brighton, Villa, and Newcastle just beating the tar out of each other in like a round robin. Like, oh, it's your turn to beat the crap out of the other one. Yeah. It's pretty entertaining, and I hope we don't lose another game like we lost at the Amex, but it has been pretty entertaining. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if some of those games kind of level out as the season goes on, and managers are able to study tactics a little bit better.
Right. Next one is your Spurs mystery for me. I have no idea where this is going.
All right. Tottenham Hotspur will win a trophy before Harry Kane.
Oh, man.
You want a little background on this? Because I don't know. You don't follow the German league super well.
Well, I liked to tweet about 5 minutes before we got on that Tottenham is ranked higher in the Premier League than Bayern is in the Bundesliga right now, but
also, you get 3 domestic competitions in England. You only get 2 in Germany.
Yeah.
They only have 1 cup. So there's only 1 cup for them to win, or the Bundesliga. So in theory, they both have 3 competitions left, because y'all somehow got knocked out of Carabao already. There's only 3 competitions left for each. Will Spurs win a trophy before Harry Kane?
I don't think so. Part of me also needs to know when the German DF Pokal or whatever FA Cup they have in Germany, when that ends. I don't think Tottenham's going to win the FA Cup. The thing I will say, though, is Tottenham has the most to gain compared to all the Premier League teams in the January window. I think they can almost complete Ange's project. They can add 3 players in January, a backup center back, a goal-scoring forward, and then 1 more midfielder, and be ready to go for 3 competitions.
Amen.
I don't know if
I completely agree.
I think the Carabao Cup was probably the best chance going into the year, but I'm not mad that they're out of it at all, especially with Son and Madison nursing a little bit of injuries. I'm going to sell it just because I think Bayern will win a trophy this year. And I don't know if Spurs will. But if Bayern doesn't, then I would say whichever competition finishes next year, I think Tottenham's winning a trophy in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think it is absolutely bonkers as it sounds for Bayern to not win a trophy. I didn't dig deep enough because I knew I was asking you this one, and I probably should have dug a little deeper. I don't know the last year that Bayern went without winning a trophy. It just
Let us
seems
know
like
in the
Bayern's
comments.
going to win a trophy. Please let us know in the comments. It feels like they are a club that wins some sort of trophy at some point every single year. He already failed to win one, albeit Community Shield. I don't know if either ask.
I don't think he even played in that game.
And I don't even know if we'd count it if they did win it. But the fact I did find it quite interesting when I was kind of diving into the thought a little bit that while Spurs have gotten knocked out of a cup already, they have the same number of chances essentially. I do think the advantage certainly goes to Bayern winning the league. But where they sit in the league table right now, yes, they're only 3 points out, but I think technically they're like fourth place or something like that. So it was interesting thought, at least. I wanted to say bye. I couldn't quite say bye because it's Bayern, but that would be pretty effing funny. I love Harry Kane. I wish nothing but the best. I think most Spurs fans did too when he left, but it would be pretty damn funny after all of the talk around, oh, you got to leave Spurs to win a trophy.
Yeah.
If Spurs came out and won a trophy before he did.
That's kind of been the murmur.
That would be pretty epic.
That's kind of been the murmur this year. Like, do you think Harry Kane's looking at this at all and wondering, okay, what could the possibilities have been if I had stuck with Ange? But I think also with the Champions League, I think Bayern can really become a solidified favorite in the Champions League if they have a good January window. You're shaking your head, Dylan, but it's Bayern.
It's Barcelona. Like, it's done. It's done. It's Barcelona. We already
forgot
saw 1 week and it's over. It's over.
Everybody to pack
Don't watch. There's no need to watch Kylian Mbappe score brace on Wednesday at St. James's Park. The Champions League is over. Crown Barcelona, and let's move on.
Fair enough. Dylan, I kind of have a two-part, but I'm gonna pose this one at you first. Over the week, I guess it was yesterday, actually, we had Davian Kimbrough, 13 years old for Sacramento FC in the USL, start a professional match. Buy or sell 13 is too young for a player to be making. It's a sixth grader making a professional debut.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I want to buy it.
I know. I'm torn too.
But I want to buy it because that is an immense amount of pressure and anticipation and expectations to put on a 13-year-old, especially not so much in the same sense as Freddie Adu, but like we saw what that pressure did to such a young superstar, if you will, in America before. So while this was, I believe, just a USL match, it still feels like it puts a lot on their plate in a culture and in a system that it's so abnormal. Like you look over at Europe and it works for them having kids play at 14, 15. I mean, Yamal just 2 weeks ago played in Champions League, and I'm pretty sure he scored in Champions League at 16. So like it's not that crazy of a general concept to have him start young. I think it just feels super crazy because it's weird in the American system, and I don't know if the way our system is built right now, it does make sense. In Europe, that it feels like it should be normal, and that's where I'm kind of torn because it's like, end of the day, we always talk about how the U.S. Federation and U.S. Soccer pyramid, if you will, isn't built for long-term international success, and I think part of that is the lack of importance there is on youth football under the age of 15 or 16. But at the same time, as somebody who grew up in American sports, it's like, this is wild and it feels incredibly wrong. So I'm super torn on it. I'm going to buy that it's too young just through that kind of American lens. Like, we are just a little different than that European system, with the caveat that it is closer to normal in Europe. And they're much better at soccer than us. So maybe they have it right and we have it wrong.
Even though, I mean, the difference between 13 and 15 just feels so vast, which even in Europe, I feel like 13 I mean, you're not going to see a 12-year-old. I mean, that just seems ludicrous. 13 even seems
Right.
wild. But I don't know. I mean, it was a USL game. It's not like he was coming in the MLS to play against Inter Miami or anything like that. But hopefully this kid doesn't get burnt out. 2, doesn't fold under the pressure, and 3, has a long, successful career. Starting your professional career at 13, set your timetable back a lot. I mean, generally you get 10, 12 years, 15 years if you're the best in the world, 12 years if you're lucky of a prime professional career. So it'll be interesting. He did come on in the 87th minute, so he didn't play a lot, but kind of wild. That leads me to part 2 of this, which isn't even really, I didn't even really formulate it completely, but Dylan, do you think that there should be some sort of like age 21 or age 22 limit for when clubs can sell their players? Not do you think that should be a thing, but do you think it could benefit the players at all? Say you got an Italian kid who's linked with Premier League teams. If he can just stay in his home country in a little bit longer, instead of going to a foreign land where he knows nobody, doesn't know the language, do you think that could benefit European soccer at all?
Depends on what you mean by benefit. Like benefit the player?
Just his
No,
his maturation and his ability
the
to
player. No. I would sell that helping the player. And this is a super niche, small sample size, but at 12 years old, I went to a month-long summer camp, essentially, in Italy with kids from 12 different countries. And I feel like I was able to learn a lot about different cultures and like was able to kind of grow a lot as a person.
Yeah.
And I think especially on more on a professional level, though, I think that opportunity for somebody at age 16, 17, 18, when that is going to be your long-term career, I think you're almost better suited because I know at least I personally was probably more responsible at 16 or 17 than I was at 19 or 20.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the American
Which is weird.
University system.
I mean,
I don't know if that's the American university system. Like it kind of corrupts you a little bit there for a little while and makes you do some weird stuff. So I don't know if it's necessarily the same in Europe, but from like an American perspective, I think I would have been better suited in a really weird way to move abroad at 16 or 17 in a mature way than I would have at 19 or 20. I think that could be the case because if you get installed into these academies at such a young age and you learn, and for the most part, most of these academies, especially the bigger academies, the Chelseas, the both Manchesters, the Arsenals, do a really good job of integrating their youth into society, into professional football in Europe, and a lot of them, especially the higher level clubs, will travel for the Champions League youth matches, and you kind of get that experience where if you're just kind of locked in your own country and not allowed to leave until you're 20, 21, 22, I think it could stunt some of that like personal responsibility growth portion of it. Granted, I'm sure there are outliers that get absolutely swallowed up by the system, but I think no matter what you do in professional sports, if you have people starting as a pro at 16, people inevitably will get swallowed up one way or another.
Just kind of like a pseudo pushback on what you're saying about your 16 versus 18. A lot of it is a product of like what the freedom you were given at 18, 19. It's not necessarily in like the exact same situation. You would be more mature. It's just like at 18, 19, you went to college. At 16, 17, you were still
for sure
subject of a drill sergeant in high school. So, it wasn't a very well formulated thought, but I think, I don't know if necessarily age would be the right thing. Maybe like a certain qualification of professional matches or minutes,
years or something.
Yes.
That I'd be more on board for. But then you could come into where we get 12-year-olds eventually, like, oh, let's get their clock start. Like in baseball, you get like, let's not start their clock. In soccer, you might be like, all right, let's get this kid's clock started so we can sell them and make some profit.
Yeah.
Like that's part of the problem with the buy and sell market of European football. It's super entertaining, but it does kind of lend itself to some extra shady practices and tensions from clubs. And I think that it's an interesting thought though. Like how do we protect the athlete and how do we protect the youth, if you
just
will?
guarantee that they can reach their potential with more of a solidified chance. I've just been thinking, I'm reading a book about Tottenham and like its inception, and thinking about, inverting the pyramid, and how there's just such an interconnectedness between borders and soccer. And you go from one country to the other, they speak completely different language with different dialects. And you just wonder how many kids get kind of swept up in the system of having a lot of potential, but making the wrong move. So that was, if people have listened this far, they might come at me in the comments, because I know that really isn't like the nature of the sport. But it's just a thought of trying to help guys maximize their potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I do think it's a really interesting thought. And it's a kind of one of the beefs I've heard a lot of people have with soccer is how young you have to start professional. Like there's that new guy that plays for Burnley, the winger, name's escaping me, the Italian U20 guy that US, Canada, and Nigeria are all fighting for right now. He moved to Spain when he was 11 without his parents. Like that just doesn't seem healthy.
That's crazy.
And like stuff like that, I do feel like there needs to be some sort of answer. And it's worked out really well for him. He's now playing in the Premier League at 18, but stuff like that is a little bit scary to hear. So it is kind of an interesting concept and an interesting problem that needs to be solved. I just don't really have the right solution, especially being thrown on the spot there. But if you're listening right now and you're still with us 31 minutes and 10 seconds in, drop in the comments what you think is the right solution, or you can just drop in the comments that you guys are crazy and I don't know why I'm still listening to you, but just drop a comment. Let us know what you think and let us know what you thought of the episode. But yeah, we really appreciate all the listens, all the likes, all the subscribes. Buy and sell did really well our first week, so we're glad to hit you guys with it. And if you treaded through all of the buy and sells to hear this long-winded debate, let us know what you think, and if it's interesting enough, we'll do a whole episode on it at some point.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys listening as always. Make sure to like and subscribe, do all that Dylan just mentioned, and we will talk to y'all next time.